You may recognize Don Boshart from his work with the American Cancer Society, the face of the organization in the North Country. He's retiring, though, after more than 2 decades. He spoke with 7 News reporter Thomas Caffarella.
Cancer's a serious disease, but we have a lot of fun fighting cancer.
27 years ago, Don Boshart joined the American Cancer Society, volunteering because his dad had lung cancer. And on the first ever Relay for Life, his life changed forever.
You know, he had been diagnosed with lung cancer. That's how I got involved. And then the first night of Relay, we come home from the overnight and he had passed that night.
Instead of quitting, he only got more involved, joining the planning committee that organizes Relay for Life, growing it into something much bigger.
We're at probably $10 million since the inception of the event here in Watertown.
And while Relay for Life has grown bigger, community connections grow tighter.
We have met so many people and kept those relationships, people fighting cancer, supporting them, and their families.
And while his time is ending with the American Cancer Society, his hard work will still be felt for years to come. With the help of volunteers, Boshart brought Jefferson and Lewis County to the forefront of battling cancer with a 20-year nationwide study. Beginning in 2015, the goal of the study is to link lifestyle choices to cancer.
These two communities brought over 300 people, and there's 300,000 people in that study as we speak.
This is the third long-term study done by the American Cancer Society. In the past, these types of surveys have led to big findings.
We were the reason that they concluded that smoking is going to cause lung cancer.
Boshart's last day will be the end of this month. Thomas Caffarella, 7 News.